Good afternoon. So I've been wanting to make this video for a while, and this video is about that in order to know everything, if you want to know everything, you only need to know two things. There's only two things that you need to know in order to know everything that there is to know. And what I had a discussion, not an argument, but a discussion with a very good friend of mine. And I made the mistake of bringing up Genesis of the Bible. And he starts going on about the Nephilim, and he's going on about how 1/3 of the angels came to the earth, and these were demons, and that the Egyptians were into black magic, and that all the old gods were actually demons, and all this, and these angels that came from they came from the spirit dimension, and they mixed with the earth women, and that's what the Bible says, and all this stuff. And it's just all this speculation about this stuff. Now, I know the story of the Nephilim. And what I can tell you about the story is that it's not important. He goes on about how, that there's a theory that one of the sons of Noah brought slaves on the ship, and one of these slaves had Nephilim blood, and blah, 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 blah. In other words, what do you know about all this, right? What you know about all this is these are all ideas. These are all ideas. Oh, and then he went on to tell me about how God was in heaven. This is another term that he used. God is in heaven. So here's the idea. One, God is in heaven somewhere. Two, that these demons came from a spirit world, so they have this secret knowledge that you and I don't have, because they're from the spirit world, so they have the secret knowledge. And this is all is important, and that this somehow has something to do with Egypt and Chaldea. And because I told him, I go, I studied the Chaldean and the Egyptian religions, and I found that the old gods of these religions were actually just natural phenomena: the earth, the moon, the sun, the sky, light, dark, water. It's the moon cycle. I mean, the whole Egyptian religion is just basically a retelling over and over and over again of the moon phases. And that the Chaldean gods of Anunnaki, they were all just natural phenomena. And I tried to explain to him that I believe that it was a science of nature that was depicted as gods, and that when the priests would study this religion, they would actually be studying a science of nature, and then they would understand the world around them. But so here's why I'm telling you all this, right? Because you only need to know two things in order to know everything. In order to know everything there is to know, you only need to know two things. Nothing else matters except for these two things that you need to know. And if you know these two things, there's no mystery in the world. There's nothing that can't be understood. And these two things is that there are only two things in existence. There are thoughts, and there is something that thinks thoughts. And those are the only two things that are in existence. The only two things that exist in this universe, or any universe, is thoughts and something that thinks thoughts. All right? There's something, we'll call it a thing. It's actually not a thing. It's almost more of a nothing. It's a no thing. There is a no thing that thinks thoughts. You and I think thoughts, which means you and I are from this no thing. It's a nothingness that thinks thoughts. Now the thoughts manifest as space, energy, and objects. So when you think of a golf ball, you see a golf ball. When you think of a swimming pool, you see a swimming pool. The universe is an idea. The universe is an idea which manifests as a three-dimensional object, a three-dimensional image. The body is part of that. The brain is part of that. Anything that exists is a thought. So there's thoughts that manifest as things, and that's called reality. So thoughts manifesting as things is called reality. And then there's something that thinks thoughts. You and I think thoughts. Collectively, we're thinking the universe into existence. Collectively, we're thinking the universe into existence because we all have an idea of what the universe is. And the universe has certain natural laws, and those laws are all ideas. So when you boil down the entire universe, it all boils down to a thought. And this is why when you get people who have these super complex religious theories, doesn't matter what they are. They could be New Agers, they could be Christians, they could be anything, Muslims, they could be Jews. They get into these complex religious theories, and they go on to tell you about the history of this and the Nephilim and the demons and the these. Those are all ideas. Those are all ideas. And so one mistake people have is they think that there's some being with secret knowledge that they don't have. Well, you're like he was telling me how that these demons they were from the spirit world. Well, you're from the spirit world. You're in the spirit world right now because you're thinking thoughts. That's the spirit world. And the real world around you is the manifestation of those thoughts. Those thoughts instantly manifest as reality because you'll never see anything but a thought. The world, like the universe, is a thought. There's an idea that there's a universe there. That's an idea. And we're all collectively having that same idea at the same time. And what we see is what we agree or believe to be. We don't believe that there's going to be a unicorn appearing on the 5 freeway because that's ridiculous. So nobody believes that. And of course, it's not going to happen because we believe within the parameters of natural law. So what we believe falls within the parameters of natural law. So the things that occur are the things which exist within the parameters of natural law. And natural laws are ideas. And those are the things that we agree. I mean, you can imagine a unicorn appearing on the 5 freeway, but it's not going to be very solid. You can't jump on its back and ride away on it. You can imagine it, so you can see it to that degree. But the things that collectively are agreed upon are very solid, but they're only solid in a universe that's basically illusory. And that doesn't mean it's not real. It's just an illusion is an illusion, and illusions are real. And so that's what you're seeing. And so all the theories of, that there's some other group with some special spiritual knowledge, there isn't. All the theories in the Bible are all theories. They're all just theories of people that thought of ideas. Now, some people think that the Bible is the Word of God. I think it's the word of the men who wrote it. And I think what they wrote down is that all these gods that everybody worship are not real gods. That it's the wind and the rain and the sun and the moon and the stars, and those aren't real gods. But then there was this thing about right and wrong, and that's what started the conversation. Is I was talking about how in the story of Joseph and the Pharaoh's wife, how he says, I can't do what you're asking me to because it's wrong. And no matter how much she threatens him, he sticks with his ideals or what he knows to be true. So that truth, which he knows which is right, that indicates that he is a follower of the original God of Israel. That's how you know what the God of Israel was at the time. Because Joseph says, I cannot do something wrong. I have to do what is right. I have to be true. I know what the truth is. And the truth is I have to do right. I have to do right. So this is the indication of what the original religion of the Israelites was. And that's what started this whole thing about the Nephilim and these other gods and all this stuff, which is totally irrelevant, honestly. And even the story of Joseph is probably just a made-up story. But it's a made-up story with a teaching which teaches you how to live and what the religion was about. And it's a religion that I practice because I practice the religion of doing what is right. And so that, according to that old book, the Genesis book, is the God of Israel, right? That was the original God of Israel, is in that book. So that's what I'm saying. But so that's all a theory. That's all theory. The truth is there's only two things in this universe. Oh, and the God of Israel is not in space. It's not in space. It's not going to come down from heaven. It's not flying around in space. That's a false god too. And so that's why you have to, those are ideas. Those are ideas. So there's two things in this universe. There's ideas and there's something that thinks the ideas. The thing that thinks the ideas is not part of the universe. You and I, when we're thinking thoughts, we're actually not this, we're actually in a dimension, a spiritual dimension. That's where thoughts are thought. in the spirit world. You want to call it the spirit world? That's where you are. That's where you've always been. You've always been in the spirit world. And the real world around you is an illusion. And there's nothing in the spirit world other than you and your thoughts. That's all that's there. And once you think a thought, it becomes part of the reality world, or it's either real or it's not real, but a thought can be real or imaginary. So you have you can have a thought which is real and a thought which is imaginary. And they're both thoughts. They're both just thoughts. So a real thought and imaginary thought are both just thoughts. So to boil this down for the last time, I don't want to make a long video because there's not a lot to say. There's only two things in this universe. There's something that thinks thoughts, which isn't even in this universe. It's actually in its own world. You want to call it the spirit world, whatever you want to call it. It has no name. It has no place. It has no time. It has no location. But it's something that thinks thoughts. That's the creator dimension. We'll call it that. And then you have its ideas. So you and I are from the creator dimension, and then we have ideas, and those ideas are the universe, and those ideas are imaginary things, and they're all ideas. So the entire existence of humans and all life and everything, it can all be boiled down to those two things. It's either part of the creator dimension, which thinks thoughts, or it's a thought, in which case it's part of the universe, or it's a part of what you call imagination. But there's only those two things, and there is nothing else. There is nothing else. And that's why you should never get sucked into these complicated theories, or that there's these mysteries you don't know about, because there aren't. There are no mysteries you don't know about, because there is no mystery. There is no mystery to this universe, because there's only those two things. There's a thought thinker, and there's the thoughts, which materialize as reality and as illusion. And that's the end of the video.